You won't believe the incredible things that really lurk in the eternal ice of Antarctica. Inexplicable bone finds, supernatural phenomena, and even traces of a lost civilization. Many of these discoveries are so disturbing and bizarre that even the most experienced researchers recoil from them. But what's behind these spectacular finds? And what incredible secrets is the icy continent still hiding from us? Stay tuned and find out together with us. Strange cave entrance. Technical progress makes it possible. Thanks to programs like Google Earth, we're all just a few clicks away from taking a look at the other side of the world, and without having to move an inch from our couch. While virtual journeys usually take us to our own homes or the next vacation destination, some observant users tracked down an extremely strange detail in Antarctica. The Internet explorers spotted a gaping hole adorning the side of a massive ice formation on King George Island. Quite a few observers recognized an artificial cave entrance with stone steps in the formation. It is estimated that this entrance is more than 20 meters high and 75 meters wide. Theoretically, it offers enough space for a modern passenger airplane. While critics see in the alleged gate to a hidden world nothing else than a natural structure, others smell a secret alien base or the work of a lost civilization. EERIE fossils. According to our current research, Homo sapiens are about 300,000 years old, right? Wrong. In truth, our ancestors entered the early stage 600 million years ago. But in miniature. One could come on this thought in any case if one throws a view of the spectacular fossil finds which buzz for some time on the net. Discovered in the rough terrain of the Antarctic Whitmore Mountains, the tiny skeletons slumbered in ancient sedimentary rock. In view of the age dating mentioned, the experts were completely stunned. After all, there were not even vertebrates on Earth at that time. Later, the fossils were flown to the National Institute of Ancient Studies in Washington for further analysis. In order not to shake our all-world view, the finds are stored, however, until today in a secret place. What goes through your mind in the face of these claims? Is it possible that the story has a true core? Or is it just an exciting but purely fictional story? Forbidden photos. Despite all the Peary rice maps in the world, the discovery of Antarctica is dated 1820. A good 90 years later, on December 14, 1911, Roald Amundsen and his companions became the first people in history to reach the Earth's South Pole. Basically, Antarctic expeditions experienced a real boom in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. At a time when the entire world seemed to have already been discovered, the aim was to erase the last white spots from the map. During the countless expeditions, however, a number of photographs were taken that leave us with raised eyebrows. While we generally associate the frosty continent with gigantic ice plains, mighty glaciers, and cheerfully waddling penguins, the images show us objects that clearly have no natural origin. These include pyramid-shaped buildings and other structures that suggest Antarctica was once home to an advanced civilization. What's more, some photos are even set to show us the hidden inhabitants of Antarctica, but they don't exactly look like they came from Earth. But even in this case, the question arises, how authentic are the photographs? Were they actually dropped under the table in the aftermath so as not to unsettle us? Or were they ultimately based on a creative hand and a flourishing imagination? The largest land animal. Have you ever wondered which is the largest land animal that permanently lives in Antarctica? What globally is the mighty African elephant, in the case of the South Pole regions, is Belgica antarctica, a wingless mosquito that grows to a maximum of 6 millimeters. But despite their tiny size, these creepy crawlies are no match when it comes to resistance and adaptability. For example, the larvae not only defy extreme acidic and salty environments, but it can also easily survive for weeks without oxygen. Even for complete dehydration or freezing alive, the insects have nothing more than a weary smile. The third man. Have you ever experienced something like this? You're lying comfortably on the sofa and suspect no evil, but suddenly, a frightening feeling creeps up on you. The feeling that yet another presence is present in the room, watching you from out of hiding. This eerie sensation is known to experts as the third man phenomenon, with the sensory illusions mostly attributed to symptoms of altitude-induced psychosis. But how is it then that such occurrences appear even away from formidable mountain peaks? And how can it be explained that the phenomenon occurs and ends in several people at the same time? After the sinking of the Endurance, Ernest Shackleton and two companions struggled through the unforgiving landscape of South Georgia to reach the whaling station at Stromness. To rescue the other men still stranded on Elephant Island, the success of the mission was critical. In total, it took the trio 36 hours to leave behind the Central Mountains and get to the station. Later, the British polar explorer testified something about the incident that no one could explain. During the agonizing forced march, it seemed to me that we had been 4 and not 3. But that was not all. After arriving at Stromness, Shackleton revealed to his companions what he had felt during the journey and received the completely surprising answer that the two men had also had the feeling of being followed by an invisible presence. Is it possible that the group was experiencing something like a collective hallucination at the time, triggered by massive stress? Or was the phenomenon ultimately based on something much more significant? For there is one thing we should not forget. During the golden age of Antarctic exploration, 19 expedition members lost their lives, and perhaps some souls never left the frosty continent. EERIE Mass Grave. When ornithologist Stephen Emsley was researching on the coast of the Ross Sea in 2016, he couldn't believe his eyes. A battlefield-like scene spread out before him, complete with countless corpses. However, the dead were not people, but penguins. Particularly astonishing, while many of the animals appeared as if they had died only a few moments ago, other cadavers were already old and mummified. To determine the age of the bodies, Emsley took some samples and subjected them to radiocarbon analysis in the laboratory. The scientific examination was to confirm what he had already suspected. It was a mixture of old and apparently younger penguin remains, whereas the word young is relative in this case. While some bodies had an age of 5,000 years, and other penguins died almost 800 years ago. But what led to the mass extinction of the flightless seabirds? Emsley suspects that at least the last penguins fell victim to a little ice age. This wrapped the region in a thick mantle of snow and ice in the early 14th century and blocked the penguins' access to the sea. Mysterious skull. The year is 1985, when something turns up on the beach of Cape Sheriff in the South Shetland Islands that still causes heated discussions today. At that time, researchers recovered a skull and femur of an indigenous woman from Chile who lived to be about 20 years old and presumably died around the year 1820. But how is this even possible? It is true that the mortal remains were found near an old sealers' camp, but officially, there were no female sealers at that time. There are no authentic documents that can explain how or why the young woman came to Antarctica at that time. The only conclusion is that she was involved in a seal hunt in some way and possibly froze to death or drowned. Alien skulls? And speaking of unusual skulls, a few years ago, the web went into a tizzy when it learned that an archaeologist named Damian Waters had recorded an even stranger skull find in Antarctica. The articles, which spread like wildfire, said that Waters and his colleagues had come across 3 bizarrely shaped heads in the Lapali region. Compared to ordinary human skulls, these had possessed a grotesque elongated shape. What was initially touted as the oldest evidence of human habitation in Antarctica, shortly thereafter became the first alien remains discovered. It has been known for some time that the indigenous peoples of Latin America performed artificial skull deformations in the past to purposely change the shape of the head with the help of boards and bandages. But what have the skulls lost in Antarctica? Well, if one follows the assumptions of the corresponding circles, the matter is obvious. The peoples of antiquity were networked over the entire globe and were in regular contact. Even more, the other cultures from Africa and America would have tried to imitate the skull forms of the Antarctic inhabitants, since it would have been their natural form. However, apart from the discussion which deals with this thesis, still another one is led, namely, whether the bizarre Antarctic skulls were found at all. On one hand, It was not possible in the context of the research to make a polar explorer named Damien Waters to locate. And on the other hand, the mentioned finding place of La Paille does not exist officially at all. The French word paille means nothing else than straw, a material that is not exactly found in large quantities in Antarctica. Thank you for watching our video to the end. We hope that we can entertain you with our contribution. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons to learn more about the most controversial discoveries of all time. Finally, we want your opinion. Do you think Antarctica was once home to a lost civilization, or even served as a home to aliens?